Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Benjy Johnson. I am here today to introduce you to the MegaTone Amps Vostok 60 guitar amplifier. Myself, my Zion 90 guitar, and this amplifier are going to show you why you need one of these. It has a feature set of 2 channels. It's loosely based on my favorite Vostok MiG-50H guitar amp that I have had for roughly 20 years. We could not find any more Vostoks except for the obvious eBay, things like that. Could not. The shipping cost on them from Russia is going to cost you, $500 to get one shipped to you if you can buy one overseas. And so what we did was decided to make one with all the things that the original didn't have in it, plus all the things the original did have in it. And the main thing that we wanted was tone. And we got it times about 100. So the main feature set that the MiG-50H did not have in it was channel switching. You'll notice on this amp we have a master gain, we have a master section and we have gain section for each channel. We have a rhythm channel and a lead channel. The lead channel is voiced with more gain. The good thing is, when I like to switch between rhythm and lead channels, I like to have them sound pretty similar. I like to have the gain. This thing will sound drastic if you want it to, but I like them to sound personally similar, so when I switch channels, I get the same thing, but just a different voicing of it. I don't necessarily like the fact that you get a really super clean and then you go to an amp that sounds like Master of Puppets. This will do that. But personally, I wanted an amp that did 2 very similar sounds, just differences in gain. And you're going to see this today. First thing we have is we're going to have, first off, this guitar, Zion 90 guitar with Joe Barden pickups in it. So it's not straight single coils, but it's not humbuckers either. Somewhere in between. What we've got is the first channel of the amp. We have the rhythm channel. The gain is set at 12 o'clock. The output is set at about 3 or 4. I think it's set at 4. Gain at 12 o'clock. That's finger picked and it's very Telecaster sounding. That's picked. What you're hearing is just a difference in between that I use my fingers and that I use my pick. That's the amp doing all that. Same setting on the amp, I haven't switched to anything. So now what we do is we'll switch over to the lead channel with the gain at 12 o'clock and with the output on about 3. The difference in 1 notch of output is going to make these sound very similar. So you have finger pick, switch channels. Same thing, finger picked. So there's 2 really different rhythm sounds, but they're very much the same. You have the gain of the lead channel. You have a cleaner version on the rhythm channel. And notice how that just continues to sustain. Let's Telecaster sound like a Telecaster. Now what we're going to do is we're going to explore the other gain settings on both those channels. We'll go back to the clean. We're going to turn the gain up to about 8. And I want you to hear it as I turn it. That's 2.5 notches on the gain. Did you hear the difference in that? Still really clean. You can hear every note in the chord. Strummed with a hit with a pick instead of your fingers. Now, we're going to switch over to the lead channel. Lead channel with the gain set at 12 o'clock. With my fingers. Now, I want you to hear this as I turn it. That's with fingers. Now we can hit it with a pick. You can hear every note in the chord, even with the gain on 8 on this amp. But you notice that it's not because it's a clean setting, it's just because the way the gain is voiced, it lets the amp sustain, it lets it do all the cool stuff it's supposed to do, but it also stays clear. Now, flip back to the rhythm channel, we're going to go from 8 to 10 on the gain. You can hear the bottom end on the amp, which is the biggest feature on it to me. Bottom end. And it's still big and clear and loud, but it's got that sustain that good gain brings with it. That's with a pick. If you're ever in doubt which channel I'm playing through, if you'll look at the amp, the lighter colored knob, the white knob, kind of cool looking in temperature, means it's a little cleaner, so it's the clean channel. You switch over to the bright blue knob, is the gain channel. Back to the cleaner channel with rhythm guitar. But then when you back off on it, not touching the gain on the amp or the volume on the guitar, you can just back off with the pick. Still get it clean with your hands. Switch over to the lead channel. I want you to hear the difference between 8 and 10. You might not have heard much of a difference, but I feel the difference between 8 and 10 in the guitar. Because between 8 and 10 now, if you can hear everything rattling in the room like I can, but that's what happens when you go from 8 to 10. I haven't touched the output section of this amp at all since we started. So that's sort of rhythm guitar characteristics of both the main channels of the amp. That's lead guitar with the middle position on the guitar with both pickups going. On the lead channel, the gain all the way up. Now, the other feature of this amp that's really super cool is that if you look at this, this is a hollow body Telecaster type guitar that has somewhat single coil spaced humbucker pickups in it, but they're very classic voiced. They're not like metal voiced. But here's the deal. You can take this amp, and if you want to sound like Master of Puppets, you take all the mids and you scoop them all the way down. You take the bass and you turn it all the way up. You take the treble and you give it a little bump, and you drop your guitar down to D or B flat or whatever you want to drop it down to. If you got a 7 string, it'll hold that too. haven't touched anything on the amp except the EQ. The coolest thing is the EQ is very drastic on this amp. You just touch a couple of different notches. I just bumped the treble from 6 to 8 and the presence from 6 to 8 with the mids all the way scooped and the bass all the way up. I don't know if you can hear the difference in that. I can hear the difference because it's about to blow my head off. Take the treble, I back it off about a half a notch. That is what the EQ will do with the Vostok 60 from MegaTone Amps. Visit them at megatoneamps.com. Visit me at benjyjohnsonmusic.com, and also check out my recording studio, Earthtones Recording Studio, at earthtonesrecording.com. Thanks a lot.